Hey everyone, I'm Joe Ferzoco.
I'm Chris Ferzoco, and we're going to be looking at today some market statistics, and we want to check out actually November of 2025 versus October of 2025, Joe. And today we're going to be taking a look at, naturally, as we always do, we're going to look at the actual overall value of properties as they've sold here. We're going to look at the number of properties that came on the market, number of properties that sold this past month, and we're actually going to look at the sale price versus the list price of property as well, and maybe do some mentioning with regards to days on market.
Absolutely, Chris. And hey, folks, if you like what you hear, like what you're seeing here with regards to our videos, please make sure you subscribe below. Tap that bell for instant notifications, and please hit that like button so you can get the most up-to-date market information on properties down here at the Jersey Shore. No, not that Jersey Shore, our Jersey Shore. Ventnor, Margate, Longport, Somers Point, Ocean City, Upper Township, Middle Township, Cape May Courthouse, Lower Township, Sea Isle, Strathmere, North Wildwood Crest, Stone Harbor, Avalon, Cape May as well. So I kind of went all over the place there. But so, Chris, we're going to do November versus October market stats. Why don't you get us started there?
We're going to do these in order as we always do, though.
Yeah.
Bouncing around, we're not going to do. All right. I'm going to start up north in Ocean City. We're going to take a look at the overall value there. The value actually dropped to about 13.5%. We were running at $1.4 million. This month, actually, in November, we dropped to $1.2 million. So a slight drop there at 13.5%, but we'll obviously continue monitoring that. When you look at the number of properties that actually had sold, we actually dropped significantly. It was actually a 24% drop. It went down from 64 all the way to 47. And just what's interesting about that is being the month of November, you figured there'd be some sales of properties went under contract September and October, closing in November.
Yeah.
Really did surprise me. I thought those numbers would be higher. In the Ocean City market there for the number of properties that sold. So rather interesting there. And the number of properties that came on the market, again, a significant decrease, 38%. We had 125 in October, only 77 in November. So pretty steep drop there, folks, which means that we're not seeing an increase in inventory still. Right now, Ocean City is right around 279 property for sale. And as we always shoot these videos, just as a reminder, we talk about all property. So we're talking about condos, we're talking about single family homes, efficiencies, penthouses, ocean fronts, bay fronts, everything in the middle, vacant lots, multifamilies, and commercial. So literally we're talking about all property here, folks. And it is, Joe, if we go back and look, I think it's really been about 282, it's right about 280 something, it seems like, in Ocean City for a good 6+ months now. So holding steady at that number of properties that's active and available for sale, but we only had 77 come on the market in November. So a little discouraging there, quite frankly, heading into the winter and not seeing a bigger jump in property coming up for sale. Overall value, list price to sale price, dropped down 2%, 97 in October, only 95 in November. So you had a lower actual value and you got a lower overall price. So kind of seeing a little bit of a drop there. We actually did see a bit of a drop in the overall days on market, though. So those that did sell actually dropped down to 30 days from 46. So properties were moving fairly quickly when they were selling. Moving down the coast into Sea Isle City, almost kind of the same scenario here. We actually went from 1.52 down to 1.28 for an overall 16% drop in the overall value. Number of properties that actually sold, we just dropped down 2 properties. We had 14 sell in October. We only had 12 sell in November. As for the properties that came on the market, significant decrease here, 39% drop. Virtually went from 23 down to 14. That's a huge drop. That's not a lot of inventory rolling into the winter months in November here. So again, only 14 properties coming up for sale. And as for the sale price versus list price, we actually had about a 1.5% drop there. We went from 98 down to 96.5%. So we're starting to see a little bit of a space now in those 2 shore towns specifically that I was covering in the overall asking price versus the price they were getting in sales-wise.
100%, Chris. And as we start to move down the Parkway, down into the Wildwoods, I would say I would echo what you were saying, that I'm very surprised at the lack of inventory that came onto the market in the month of November. Even the amount of transactions that we had with regards to closed properties in the month of November, down. I mean, this was probably the first time, I think we commented in October and September, where we started to see like, hey, over 50% of the towns that we covered were down arrows and all that kind of stuff. Every single town is a down arrow. Like for this, and I would probably say, just after COVID was when we, that thing that happened 5-6 years ago was something that, not to dismiss it, I don't mean to do that, but was the first time that we saw so many down arrows where the whole sheet is down. So if we pop into North Wildwood, your average sale price in the month of November down 21% with $785,000 from the month before. The number of properties that sold down 42%, only 15 transactions in the month of November in North Wildwood. The amount of inventory dropped 51%. We only had 18 properties hit the market in the month of November. Your list price to sale price, yeah, it jumped up to, it was 99% list price to sale price, which meant obviously sellers were getting more than they did in the month of October. The problem is your price dropped 21%, went from $999 to $785. So, you start to get that gap there. Your days on market was over 100 days. It was 140 days for November. It was 112 in the month of October. So not much different. It's over 100 days. Going into Wildwood, again, 14% decrease in your average sale price was $610,000. The number of transactions that we had dropped 21%. We only had 19 transactions in Wildwood in November. We had inventory was the same amount as October. We had 24 properties hit the market in November, had 26 in October. So relatively the same. List price to sale price again was up a little bit. It was up to 98% list price to sale price. But again, you had a 14% decrease in it was almost over $100,000 in your average sale price. Your days on market was massive. It was 319 days. That's a lot of that new construction. If you're here in the Wildwoods and you're seeing, down off of Pacific Avenue, a lot of those ones becoming, are completed and those are starting to close. So that just, that really extends your days on market. Sure. So not really too concerned about that. We go into the Crest, 15% decrease in your average sale price. $708,000 was your average sale price, over $100,000 drop in the month of November compared to October. The amount of properties that sold, 27% decrease. We only had 8 transactions in the Crest as far as, amount of deals that closed in the month of November in the Crest. Your inventory dropped 42%. We only had 11 properties hit the market in November. List price to sale price, again, sitting right around 95%, 100 and something day, 143 days on market in Crest for the month of November. Going into Seapoint Village, even there, we had a 9% decrease in the average sale price, dropped to $828,000. Number of transactions, there was only 2 in the month of November. The month of properties that came on the market, there was a 50% increase. It was the only place that had an increase. We went from 2 to 4 that came on the market in November. So, up, down, and, next month is going to be a 50% decrease because we're only going to have 2 hit the market because there's just not a lot that happens, in the Seapoint Village. It's very limited when the properties hit the market. Your days on market, that was sitting right around 65, 70 days. It was a drop from the month of October, which was 112. So properties, as you said, like in Seattle, they did move quickly when they did hit the market. Moving into Cape May, 7% decrease, over $150,000 decrease there. It was $1.383 million in Cape May for the month of November. Your inventory dropped 62%. I'm sorry, not inventory, but the number of transactions that we had that closed in the month of November, there was only 6 in Cape May. The number of properties that hit the market stayed the same as October. We had 11, 10 in October. So not a lot of inventory hitting the market there. Your list price to sale price, that did jump up to 99%. But again, you had about $120,000 differential in your average sale price. And your days on market was sitting right around 150, 148 days for the month of November. So a lot of down arrows as we're going through these towns in the month of November compared to October of this year. So why don't you jump offshore a little bit here, Chris, and maybe into a little bit of our primary market?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Upper Township, actually, they had a real positive month there, Joe. They did actually jump up in value. Went up about, it's pretty significant, but I'm going to say it went up 61%, went up to 668,000 from 413. The caveat that is, it actually had dropped significantly last month. So again, the primary home market sometimes can be up and down, depending on the given area. Yeah. And we see that happen in the shore towns too. So look, next month it could actually be down 59%. So we're just going to have to watch that. So I think what's real critical here for Upper Township though is you look at the number of properties that sold was down 50%. We only had 5 properties actually closed last month in the month of November versus 10 in October. And as for the number came on the market, actually virtually the same. You had 18 in October, 17 in November. So that's a nice sort of steady inventory coming on the market there, but just not a lot of sales. And that can happen in the primary home market, especially in our area this time of year. Yeah. As for the overall value of the property or sale price versus list price, we had an increase of 2.5%. Days on market actually plummeted, Joe. We went from 30 I'm sorry, 59 days down to 25 days. So it actually was a significant drop.
Yeah.
Summers Point, moving up the coast there, or in the mainland, we actually did see a decrease. Again, Summers Point, 604,000 in October, dropped to 492, an 18.5%. So that's a pretty significant drop. Drop when you look at Summers Point. Summers Point historically this year, though, has been hovering around that 500,000.
Yes,
so
it has.
it's not that bad. It might sound significant, but you've been a little bit north of it, a little bit south of 500. You're right in the same vicinity that you have been. As for the number of properties that actually sold, we went from 17 down to 11, so 35% drop there. So pretty significant drop. As for the number of properties that came on the market, we actually had virtually the same. 33 came on this month, 32 in the month of October. So the inventory for those primary home markets has remained fairly steady month over month. As for the sale price versus list price, actually had an increase there of 1%, went up to 99% versus 98% in the month of October. And the days on market there actually dropped as well, went from 37 all the way down to 12.
Wow.
So the properties in the primary home market, when they were hitting, they were selling.
Yeah.
It just, there wasn't a whole lot of them,
Yeah.
sales in that given timeline, which just goes to show you, priced right, in good condition, accessible, they're going to sell.
They're going to move. Yep. And that even goes for the island, the properties on the islands too. You're priced right, accessible, you'll move fairly quickly with regards to the marketplace. So if we're moving down into like the North Cape May area, your average sale price, that was at $448,000 for the month of November. That was a 32% decrease in your average sale price. Again, much like when you look at Summers Point, Upper Township, they're always seem, you're in that up, down, massive increases, massive decreases, but you're also always right in that $525,000 sale price in North Cape May. The month of November, it was $448,000. The number of transactions, that dropped 57% in the month of November. There was only 3 transactions in all of North Cape May for November. The number of properties listed, we only had 5 hit the market, which was also a big decrease, 37% decrease in the month of November. List price to sale price stayed about the same, 98, 97% as it was in October. Your days on market was right around 75, 76 days for your days on market for deals there. Moving into Cape May Courthouse, this was the only town that had an increase, the southern half of the county where Chris and I, in the Ferzoco group do cover. Cape May Courthouse had average sale price was actually up 28% to $525,000 from the month of November. However, when it came to inventory and the number of properties that were listed for sale, it was pretty much identical to the month of October. We had 14 transactions in November, 15 in October. We had 15 properties hit the market in November. We had 15 properties hit the market in the month of October. So pretty steady Eddie there as far as, not really a big increase for every property that sold. One came on the market, so no big, increase there either. Days on our average sale price was right around list price to sale price, 97%, was 98% in the month of October. Your days on market went from 86 to 90. So pretty steady in Cape May Courthouse from October to November. You did have a bump in your average sale price, but overall everything else was pretty much the same. So a lot of down arrows, Chris, as I kind of mentioned in the beginning there. Talk to us a little bit about what are you thinking there too?
Well, ironically, even with the down arrows in the primary home market, I'll say it actually remained fairly steady.
Yeah.
I mean, outside, yes, we talked about a couple of significant drops in value. However, that again has been up and down, up and down. So, but when you look at the number of properties coming up for sale, or the number of properties kind of selling, kind of staying consistent. I will say this: I am going to sound the alarm for the homeowners out there that are thinking of selling if you're waiting, okay? And this is not a panic button. This isn't anything like that. I'm just saying you've got to start paying attention because the values are coming down. And what we're saying here is inventory isn't going up, but the values are coming down and so were the sale prices versus the list prices. So the difference there is also means you're starting at a lower price and the offers are coming in lower than what you're asking already. So that means that the market values are starting to dip down. And we just need to be paying attention to that. If you're thinking of selling, considering doing that, you really want to think about, okay, when's the right time for me to do this?
Sure.
It's not just springtime. It's just not that easy. A lot of other people are thinking the same way you are. So if it's a consideration for you, pay attention because the values are kind of dipping here. And we're going to start watching this very carefully because if it continues to drop, think about it this way. If this is where your value is today and you want to wait 4 months to come on the market, but if it's gone like this over the next 4 months, you're down here starting. You're not up here starting.
Yeah.
And there are people that are buying, Joe, as you and I know. We've been doing this for over 20-something years now. There's people buying all the time here. They will buy all winter. There are people looking to purchase properties at the shore. So there's an opportunity for you if you're thinking of selling. Just hate to see you losing out on the value. We know you want to maximize the amount of value that you're getting out of the property. It's just time to start paying attention. For you buyers out there, listen, yes, you could continue to hold out, but you may be missing great properties and great opportunities as well. So you have to ask yourself, is it really worth a couple of $1,000s to miss out on a great property that I'm going to have to then maybe just be okay with later buying something that I didn't necessarily want, or you're just sacrificing something. So there's a lot of variables there, but I'm just saying, I'm just kind of ringing, sounding that alarm of, this is the first time, as you said, a lot of negatives. We need to really start paying attention across the board.
Yeah, I think paying attention to that, Chris, and you talk about, like, we have transactions every single day. Any time of the year, we have transactions, whether it's the month of December, November, or it's April and May. We're always having transactions. It just becomes a matter of, okay, this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I'm looking to accomplish in my sale. Let's make that happen.
Yep.
Because to your point, if you're a buyer and you're waiting, well, yeah, the prices may this. I always say this. I said it the other day at a team meeting. If you like a property, chances are somebody else does too. Yep. So if you're coming in at a time where, hey, wow, this checks all my boxes, good solid price, it's right in there where you are, you don't necessarily have a tremendous amount of competition per se this time of the year. So you're making your deal. If you're a seller, same thing. Well, that's a good solid number. The market value, that looks good there. You're not dealing with, as you mentioned, the spring market. So everybody lists their home in the spring market. Well, now you've got competition. As opposed to coming on, hey, that's a real good price. I like that. I can make this happen, sell my property, and be on my way. So it just becomes a matter of, if it makes sense, why wait?
Yeah.
Because you know what it is today. You don't necessarily know what it is 6 months from now.
Yeah, we don't, and I don't feel that the trend that we're going to be seeing will be an upward trend over the course of the next 4 to 5 months.
Sure.
Based on just market conditions, where we are.
Yep.
And the other thing too, for you sellers that are out there, just do a little bit of homework. What you have to look at here is we're talking about these values that might be creeping down, and you want to hold out for your price, or you want to see if you can get a little bit more money in the spring. That's fine if that's what your plan is. Make sure you're calculating from this video, which is in December. What are your carrying costs to get you from December to April to sell your property?
Right.
Because if you're trying to get another 10 grand out of the property, 20 grand, but it's going to cost you 50 to carry it, all you're doing is losing money in the long run. Yeah. So, you have to do a little bit of homework.
Sure.
And then at the same time, and I'd say most importantly, you need to contact us.
Yeah.
Right? You need to be talking to professional real estate agents that understand their market. We've been through all sorts of market conditions, ups and downs and sideways and everything else like that. We've dealt with all of that. We can walk you through a process that's specific for you, specific for your needs, that are going to help you maximize the sale of your property and helping you take care of what you need to take care of on your end at the right time. And Joe, on the buying side, same thing. We have a specific plan for you to help you maximize your opportunity as well in what you're buying, to make sure we're getting you the right property that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And whether it's this week, next month, 6 months from now, or a year from now, you reach out to us, you give us a call, shoot us a text or an email, reach out to us, directly, from this video. We'll certainly be able to set you up with one of the experts here at the Ferzoco Group and make sure we get you going in the right direction to maximize either your sales price when it comes to selling, or maximizing your criteria and ultimately getting you in that perfect shore property here at the beach. So that's going to wrap up the month of November versus October. So he's Chris, I'm Joe, and until next time, we'll see you at the beach.